Well, despite the atrociousness that was our betting card last week, we are here and we are ready. You guys pour on the comments. We're terrible. Congratulations, though, to anyone bold enough to fade all four of us. You would have gone 12-0 this weekend on our best bet segment. I don't even know where to start, guys. Just an absolute bloodbath from Arkansas first half that I felt really good about. Taylor Green acted like he was a JV football player out there, threw a pick, didn't read the linebacker to the bad beat with TCU. Congratulations, Nick, being on the right side of that. Q's Florida Gators, they did it to me again. Can we just stop pretending? There were so many people that I respect in this business that were on the Florida Gators, from Chris Felica, Kelly in Vegas. Swing and a miss, guys. We just missed this weekend. What's up, guys? Everybody's still here. Nobody off themselves.
We're gonna keep grinding. That's what we do.
I'm here because I thought you'd ask about Notre Dame again.
Hey, Notre Dame, big response.
I'm here to talk about Orgy, the new quarterback for Michigan.
That line was a joke. Like,
Todd's only
talk about
here
an
for
overreaction.
orgies.
Come on.
Great. Q, quiet up there. You got your loss.
You got to be quiet when you're down 18 units over the last 2 weeks. There's not much you can say right.
Well, anything major that stuck out to y'all this weekend? I think for me, it was Oregon. They finally look like a team that lives up to their – good job, Ken. Went 2-0. Didn't back Michigan, I'm guessing. Alabama looked really strong. I think they are legit. Last week may have just been a fluke. Oregon, like I said, looks like a national championship caliber team if they play like that all season. Missouri, they did what they were supposed to do. LSU comes back and wins. That was a tough road victory for them. And I didn't know if Brian Kelly's guys were going to – I think what did it for me was when the announcer said that South Carolina's student section had all migrated down to the field.
Oh, yes.
A little premature, guys. That's a program that doesn't win a lot. But other than that, what'd y'all see this weekend?
I would say just as a whole, like when you're capping games, what you think is a lock is by far a lock. And even if you have the numbers to back it up and the stats and, the analytics, like that doesn't mean it's going to hit. It's getting us all. I would say that's just college football wide not only this week, but this season.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot more parity this year. I mean, even Georgia, you look at Georgia, I said it. I thought this line was weird, why it was so low. Turns out Kentucky may have overlooked South Carolina last week to just try to sell out. And if that pick, I don't know if y'all saw the pick or what was going to be a pick for Kentucky, that would have swung that game. I think the Wildcats would have won it. But Georgia's got a lot of question marks if I'm Kirby Smart looking at that team. I don't know if they are the best team in the country right now. And then on the flip side, Texas, takes over as the number one spot in the AP poll. They look as legit as anybody else. Does it worry any of you with Quinn Ewers?
No, they said he's they said Quinn's not as bad as they thought. He's probably only going to miss 1 week. But Texas is also doing this without their star running back who they lost preseason. So I think that's even more of a
backup too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they lost their backup week 1, I believe. That's a testament. When you can go from Quinn Ewers to Arch Manning, it's pretty good.
Their running backs, they're deep there too. They had that Gibson kid that was a very high recruit coming in, and Archie surely. I think he
figured things out.
Yeah, he did. He had a nice game. So real quick, then I'll let Nick go. The only thing I saw, I was going to bring up the Georgia. South Carolina blows out Kentucky, and you're like, wow, Kentucky. We made fun of the quarterback, and I'm not saying they only scored 12 points, but them hanging around that game was shocking. I think the Kansas State game Friday night, that got me. I had over team points, 31.5. They scored 31. Shocker. Of course, that's what's going to happen. But I was really surprised because I know Nick was on the over in that. and Kansas State did their part. Where was Arizona's offense? I mean, the wide receiver got his. I think he had double-digit receptions again, but they just couldn't score any points. So that one, and then the other one was the Notre Dame line. And I think Nick will talk about that, but that one just kept coming down. I think it was like 10.5 or something. And then by kickoff, some people got it at 7, and Notre Dame just put on a whipping. So yeah, it's like you said, it's been tough the last 2 weeks. Good luck. One I will say that I eyed up all week, and I'm glad I got on it, was Georgia State. And I really just kept looking at that one. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just betting it. Let's go. And they won the game outright. They beat Vandy. So that was probably my one really good play of the weekend that I looked at all week. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, let's touch on Notre Dame real quick. I think that would have happened. Like, Purdue just got them at a terrible time. Like, you talk about how their Notre Dame's week of practice probably went. You hear in the media, like, you were like the joke of basically college football for a week. I don't care if it was Purdue. That could have been anybody, and that probably would have happened. But yeah, I mean, that was Purdue got 6 first downs in the entire game. Hudson Card was getting crushed and never had a chance. Riley Leonard threw for 100, ran for 100, and 3 TDs in the first half. First person since Lamar Jackson to do that. So all that injury talk about his shoulder doesn't matter when you're not getting touched. So yeah, that was good to see, at least from me as a fan perspective. To talk about the rest of the country, I am a little worried about, like, just everybody talking how up the SEC is this year, and every other conference is down. I have some worries about Alabama. I have some worries about Mizzou. I have some worries about what I saw from Georgia. LSU doesn't look like they're going to be dominant. Like, so outside of what we've seen from Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, there are a lot of question marks that people are going to find out about in the coming weeks.
Yeah, the SEC is just going to beat each other up. It happens every year. You typically, they say they start hot, and then there's really only 2 or 3 teams at the top. That's just they play each other and they kind of bloodbath each other. So that's just going to be what it is. I'll just get out of the way. I'm waiting for Billy Napier to be fired. It doesn't sound like they're going to head to Mississippi State without him. It sounds like the move may be to just fire him after the Mississippi State game. That way it gives an interim roughly 2 weeks to kind of prepare for the next game. So that'll be interesting to see. But it sounds like per Nick De La Torre, they had a board of trustees meeting, and you usually don't have those if things are going well. So he did have his press conference today, so we'll see that. But I did find something interesting, and it might have been the best thing he's ever said in his press conferences. He said, we're seeing really good results in practice. The problem is they're not doing it to the field. And that was actually, I think, telling to admit that. He said, look, the guys look sharp Monday through Friday. Saturday, like, I'm kind of at a loss for words. So I think there was some sincerity there. I think the players are not only letting him down, but letting themselves down and just not executing because, yeah, you can look great all season long and then shit the bed in the playoffs, vice versa, a week-to-week basis. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mississippi State has a good showing at home and beats the Florida Gators. I'm hoping for it. So we'll see. But there's the Billy Napier report. That's what I got for you. And don't take my picks.
Also in his press conference, I heard him say, because I went back and somebody told me to check it out. So he also said that they're having communication problems and guys don't know where to be on certain plays. And that was like eye-opening because like that's
coaching.
Week 3. This isn't camp. Like that's stuff. You can't be having communication problems in week 3 when you're in SEC play.
I agree. I just don't understand. I will say this: it sucks to be a player and have 3 defense coordinators in 3 seasons. Like that's got to be kind of tough. But at the end of the day, you should be able to communicate with your teammates. You're the one yelling next to him, running next to him. Like outside of coaching, you should be able to know where they're going to be at and vice versa. So that's not necessarily, on the coaches within the field, but it's on the coaches in terms of getting those guys ready for the weekend. So things aren't well right now. And unfortunately, they're looking at a big buyout. It sounds like the money's already been essentially gotten and it's just sitting in a bank account ready to be sent over to, his bank. So it'll be interesting, but I would love a Mississippi State win. I mean, I would seal the deal. I don't think he'd be on the flight Sunday.
What is it, Keith? $32.5 million?
Nah, it's like just
for him and assistants.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it is like, okay, I think that's what I read.
Yeah. But what do? Do you just ride him out and just make things miserable? Or like, do you fire him? Maybe you get a little juice from the players to play for an interim guy who is not going to be the coach after 8 weeks. but you start looking towards the future. I mean, you're going to pay him regardless. So to me, just cut the cord now.
Yeah, Urban's free.
Do you like the Texas A&M quarterback that Reed over the
yeah.
I mean, too.
Listen,
I thought he looked
well
really good
last year, but he's hurt. He didn't look good this year in his one game. Like, he hasn't played in his second game now. I think you got to play Reed.
He fits better in Colin Klein's system too, I think.
Oh, yeah. The ability to run.
Yeah.
It was incredible. He's got a cannon.
The Florida State Seminoles dropped to 0-3 after getting beat by Memphis. They host Cal, who they're a 2.5-point favorite. I actually like Cal if you can get the +3. I don't know how they're going to slow down Jalen Ott. I mean, this team is struggling.
Yeah, there's no answers.
And you look at their schedule, you get Cal, then you go at SMU, then you get Clemson, at Duke, at Miami. I mean,
if you
is
go
this
into
team
this
going to get 4 wins?
No, they're not. I mean, at the end
They
of the
already
day,
cashed their season win total under for those.
How can you have DJ start next week? I mean, I don't care how bad your backup is. Like, at this point, he's just gotten, in my opinion, worse from game 1 to game 3. I don't understand, if you're Norvell, how you don't even try to see what your youth has on your team. If you just continue to throw them out there, I feel like you're doing not only yourself, but the team and the school, a disservice by saying, look, I'm not even making an attempt to change things up. It's kind of like just setting out the first 9 in baseball and saying, yeah, I don't really care about my bench guys. Like, they might be better, but we'll never know. So what do you do in his situation?
So there was actually a CBS analyst that reported that there's something in his NIL deal that, like, he was like went there because he was like a guaranteed starter, and it lists like a certain amount of games for him to start, like, barring injury. So it's like, I don't know if that's true, but that got reported. I mean, it's CBS, so like it's a legit analyst. So I'm not sure if he heard it from somebody within the program or what, but that's because I was thinking the same thing. And now it's like, okay, well, that would make sense because guy's been bad.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk bad. 0-3 this week. Still, I don't even think I can call myself the leader right now because this is just bad. But 4-5 overall, 4.5 points. We got to do better. Nick?
Yeah, Ole Miss scores 20 in the first quarter. Like, that one upset me. Arizona, Kansas State was just a bad bet. I thought Arizona would be able to score. They put up 7. And then LSU, South Carolina, that thing was going to hit.
Off with
and then all of a sudden, you have that blocked punt, which, that was illegal. That actually got confirmed that should have been called.
Okay, so that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that should have been called
last year.
Because they were talking about how, like, obviously South Carolina complaining about the offensive pass interference, complaining about the horse collar that took away the pick 6. And then everybody's like, okay, well, what about the block punt that should have been called back as well? So, yeah, that was illegal. Not sure why the refs missed it or just misjudged the rule.
It was pretty obvious.
That was about as obvious as it gets.
Because you can either go through
even did a
or
front
around.
flip. Yes.
Yeah.
It was it was a player safety rule so that players don't flip over the top. And he literally blocked it while flipping over the top. So that should have been called,
All right. Yeah, I was confused.
Yeah, TCU, like I said, that one was just Matt. I was right with you. I mean, you had to laugh. You had to laugh at that game. I was laughing, just sitting in my TV room laughing, going, "How is this team going to blow this game?" And they were down at the goal line, false start, kicked a field goal, and then that went down UCF and scored. Yeah, Kansas State, like I said, that was tough. I had 31.5 over. They had 31, and I mean, what can you do? And UCLA, Nick said he was on. He said he was going to take Indiana, in that. Yeah, I should have known better with Eric Bieniemy calling the plays. Indiana looked really good. That's a good team. And one thing I gave that out in the guide, the win total. So that's what I had to talk to myself and say, you still gave out the 5.5 on this. So you're going to lose the best bet. Oh, well. But yeah, UCLA had a little bit of momentum. It was 21-7, and they got the ball and went right down, but just kicked the field goal. They just couldn't stop Indiana. I mean, they just completely, the quarterback was really sharp. It's a very well-coached team. So the Hoosiers should get a win this week and hopefully get that over that 5.5. So yeah, tough week again.
Kurt Signetti, he just wins. They are laying 27.5 against Charlotte this weekend. Our website projects them to win by 35. So maybe some value there. Q, close us out with this week of terror over here.
Jalen Daniels, overrated. Put an X on that one. Michigan, we had it covering. And then Matt texts me and says, we'll be fine. And 30 seconds later, the guy throws like a 40-yard bomb.
Yeah, what happened to the defense? Michigan's defense
they weren't there.
A lot better.
There wasn't a defensive back
2.5
within
quarters.
20 yards of that receiver. It's like he just got blew by and just said, I'm not even chasing him. And then Arkansas, you sold me on that one. I really liked it for myself as well. And man.
Yeah, hats off to Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer. He's a game manager.
Perfect game plan for 2 quarters. And then Arkansas.
Taylor Green looks kind of like you said, his Boise days. I don't know. That's weird. Yeah. Does that if they continue to have like that, do you think Pittman makes the end of the season, or do they elevate Petrino?
I don't know. I think Pittman's.
That's 2 blown games.
If we get one big win in the SEC, whether it be next weekend to Auburn or against A&M, happy Monday, Sean. As you sit here and text in the group chat, Falcons plus 6.5 tonight.
I mean, I know Arkansas won, but that was
you can't really call it a good win by any means. The good news is we have a much better slate, in my opinion, especially to bet on next week. So looking at week 4, top matchups, I could have had 2 or 3 more on here. Arkansas goes to Auburn. Our website makes this, I think, basically a pick 'em in favor to Auburn. I got the plus 3.5 or plus 4. Tennessee, Oklahoma, that's obviously going to be a big one. USC, Michigan, I think that has the makings to be a big one. Hope USC comes out on top on that one. But other than that, I mean, looking at the board, we got a Friday night matchup, 2 ranked teams, Illinois and Nebraska. I think that's another good little preview for the weekend. Hopefully we get a closer game than Arizona, Kansas State was. But what do you make of this Illinois-Nebraska game?
I don't think Illinois stands a chance personally. I think Nebraska's rolling. Matt Rule's got that team on fire. Rayola's back, a stud. Big Red Nations support them, and it's at home. I just think Bielema's going to bite off a little more than he could chew on the national spotlight, and I think Nebraska's going to pummel him.
This will be the best defense that Royals faced so far this year. So I am anxious to see that. Luckily, I mean, they get it at home, though, which should help him out. But yeah, interested to see because Illinois is going to ground and pound like Bielema does. So if they limit possessions and Raiola makes a couple freshman mistakes, I could see it staying close.
Nebraska. Toddy.
Yeah, I think Illinois will try to make it a slow pace, ugly Big Ten football game. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Louisville, Georgia Tech. This could be a sneaky, good game. I'm excited to see the preview on that, see how these 2 teams shape up. This may be the only time we cover them this week. And then NC State. Todd, I think you have some news about the quarterback.
Yeah, backup quarterback. It looked like, I forget, can't remember who had that out, who I sent that from you guys on social this afternoon. But the starter, the kid from Coastal, injured his ankle, I believe. So they're going to go to the backup. That's a team that's struggling. I mean, that's 3 games. Western Carolina, they struggled. They got blown out against Tennessee. And then I'm drawing a blank. Louisiana Tech. That game was really close. Tech was actually, I think, winning the game in the second half and that again. So, yeah, backup. I'm not sure what the kid's name is, but it seems like the backup is going to get the start.
Arizona State going to Texas Tech. I think that could be a really good game. At this point, I think they're a plus 3.5 dog Kenny Dillingham has Arizona State playing really good. Cam Scatterbo.
Texas Tech looked damn
Texas
good.
Tech scored some
Yeah.
points, man.
What's
Yeah,
the total
I
on
think
that?
this
It's
could
a
be a
total of
shootout.
100.
52-7 at half.
Yeah.
59.5 is the total in this one.
Yeah,
I gotta
I
think
think
that's
last
fair.
week with that North Texas, I think it was 70, I think, went by the time it kicked off. So yeah, Arizona State, this could be a high score. And I was really shocked because I thought North Texas was going to put up a lot more points than they did in that game because Texas Tech's defense has not been good the first couple weeks.
And shout out Chris Phillips. He called that Toledo outright win.
Yes, he did. That
on
was
the
crazy.
show. They dominated Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Now
Mississippi
Mississippi
State's
State
bad.
plays Florida. Yeah.
The MAC, hey, great. What a great start for the MAC. We said, Northern Illinois, Toledo now. Bowling Green went into Beaver Stadium. It was right there. They had that game against Penn State. So the MAC is playing really well right now.
Yeah, we need those Mac Tuesdays back. Come on.
Mac Wednesdays.
Wednesdays, that's right.
Wednesdays.
Yep.
They come back here soon, a week or two.
We need it. Colorado,
Tennessee hang a
Colorado
50 burger?
State.
Can I?
Anybody have anything to say about Shador?
Guys,
I mean,
We can't hear you, Todd.
Sorry. We made fun of the Kentucky kid the other day. Man, that Colorado State quarterback's no good.
He's actually good. That was, I don't know what that was, though.
Well, he laid a major stinger. I watched.
He was
He
talking
did.
a lot of noise apparently
He
on
was.
Instagram. That's why Shador wouldn't even acknowledge him. I like how he just pointed at him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is getting blown up by the media saying he's, not a good role model, not a good leader. Say
And
what
not.
you will. I mean,
And the one thing
he's
too,
a good
Gino,
player.
he had the one guy he didn't shake hands with. It was because he talked crap
he
about
talked crap on him, absolutely. And the
Yeah.
one thing too, a lot of people talked about in that game was them with a big lead again, and he was just trying to chuck the ball all over the place.
With
And
40
running out
seconds
the
left, he
clock.
throws a deep ball.
Yeah. I mean, which one was worse, him doing that or Tennessee? I know we talked in our little group, or Tennessee doing an onside kick. They're up 30-0.
Yeah, I can
No, I
explain. Let
love
me
it.
explain that one for people. So that was planned throughout the week. They said they're going to do it on either the third or fourth kickoff, no matter what. Like they wanted to put it on film for every SEC team to have to worry about and think about. So that was planned no matter what. I don't think maybe they did think they were going to be up 30-0, but I don't think they thought it was going to be in the first quarter 30-0. So that was planned no matter what. It is a bad.
choice.
It is a bad look, but this is
bad
their
optics.
last game going into SEC play, so it was a planned thing.
I get
And
it.
I also don't think they were going to end up putting 62 on the board or whatever by halftime either. It's like, But-
Is that Kent State team the worst team in football?
no, I mean they did the same thing to Chattanooga, who almost they almost went down and beat somebody in week 2.
Yeah, but I mean, Kent State lost to St. Francis of PA.
Mm.
That's a quality
Now-
football program out there.
Yeah, that's and then Penn State this week. So good luck. Penn State's going to put up some numbers against that team.
Yeah, Kent State is our lowest in our power ratings over on the website. But one matchup I do want to talk about real quick, and we kind of talked about Notre Dame. They took it to Purdue. Purdue is bad. You look at all their advanced analytics. We actually make them on our site. Oregon State is a 25-point favorite in this. The line's only 6.5. You may buy on the Beavers right now because I think that line could move. But I was amazed by that. I thought that was a typo. I texted Parker. It's like Oregon State minus 25. What? And he said Purdue is bad.
Or Notre Dame's
Right.
good, and
So you
Excuse
take
the numbers.
25.5 and I win by 24.
because they've only
That's how
played
it's
twice.
like that.
They had a bye week, so they've only played 2 games.
Hudson Card, I thought he would be better. Transfer from Texas.
Well, that
He was
wasn't
a
on. I mean,
phenom.
he had 2 seconds to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, that was a rest in peace funeral for Purdue.
Yeah, it was. Their crowd shots were hilarious. That was one of those games.
I got to think Notre Dame's going to do the same thing this week, too. Really show some dominance.
And then Washington just completely laid an egg versus an inferior Washington State team.
Couldn't stop
They
them.
lost that game.
Couldn't stop them.
17 penalties, like 13 penalties in the first half. Like you can't win like that. And then you call You have a non-running quarterback run a speed option to the short side of the field on 4th and goal. Like that was odd. That was like somebody makes a mistake, like calling the play. It's like they thought it was 3rd down or something. Like that was unacceptable.
Sean asked South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, A&M on my short list for survivor picks. If you aren't in a survivor pool, I think I'm doing my first one in college. It's been a lot of fun. Thankfully, we stayed alive with Arkansas's win over UAB. I may look at A&M, Sean, taking on Bowling Green. 22 point. I don't know when else you would use the Aggies. So that may be one that you just pick it and forget it.
The Hoosiers should roll against Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte's not a good football team.
And all those guys are still suspended for Charlotte for one more week.
Yeah.
So
Kentucky, I don't know. Kentucky's
you could use them against New Mexico State if you wanted to save A&M. Yeah. The rest
Kentucky played as good as they. That was the top you will see Kentucky play all year. That was just one. That was the typical Stoops game. We're going to muddy this up. He gets the guys up. That defense played awesome. I will say that. You could
play Kentucky against Florida as well and be okay. I'm being dead serious.
Or Kentucky against Vandy.
Or Vandy. Like I think you have opportunity there elsewhere.
In South Carolina, I don't know. Do they get back up after that?
I don't think so.
Loss. I know they're playing Akron. Our website makes them a 38-point favorite. I think they're only laying 3 touchdowns. 27. 27 and a half.
Guys, real quick, Brett McMurphy just put on X, Van Dyke is done for the season.
Yeah, when he got carted off, that was it.
Let me ask you guys this. Are we worried about, like, there was 21 design runs for him on Saturday. Like, when he gets an SEC play, like, I know Wisconsin's physical, but can that be sustained throughout an entire season? Because obviously that's what they think they have to do against their prime opponents. Like that, I know he's a big guy and he's strong, kind of like Jalen Hurts-ish, but still, like, that's a lot of beating to take week in and week out.
Well, I don't think they have the receivers that they do in the past. Like, who's their bona fide number one? Like, they don't have like an Amari Cooper.
I mean, Ryan Williams is going to be there, but he's also.
He's
and did you know he's 17 years old and he's skipped his prom?
Like he's not there yet. Heard that? So they when you look at what they have, they've had 2 or 3. So it's like Ryan Williams hasn't had to step up in year 1, but this year he is it, and that's kind of odd for an Alabama team that we've known for 15 years. Like you could tell the talent disparity between the Alabamas that we're used to seeing, and then like this year's team. Now, obviously, DeBoer got screwed the way Saban retired, like with recruiting and things like that. So it's unfortunate, but it set him back a little bit, to be honest. And NIL.
Heisman Trophy odds right now. Fox Sports has Cam Ward, the shortest shot, plus 550, followed by Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe at plus 700, then Nico Iamaleava at plus 850, Dylan Gabriel plus 900, and then the preseason short shot Carson Beck has fallen now to 12-1. Anything worth taking here?
I think Dart, because I think Lane Kiffin's pretty much made it apparent like he's going to try to just pad stats and get those numbers. I would be curious to know Josh Heupel's mindset on that with Nico. Like, Nico's putting up big numbers, but does he kind of start tailing off if they get you a big lead in the SEC, try to save him for the next week because he's so young? Like, Dart's a senior this year in comparison. So I'd just be curious if Heupel wants to throw up big numbers all season long, or does he kind of back off for protection of Nico?
Well, so that's the thing is Nico hasn't played 4 quarters yet this year.
Right.
He literally played 18 minutes this Saturday. Like, it is one of those where it's like, yes, you want to get him reps, but also you do want to keep him healthy. But that honestly could, if it was between those two, it could come down who finishes better in the SEC. Like, it's one of those, because people can look at stats, but they also like to look at where teams finish ranked, how good your team was, and things like that. So it could just be, say Nico beats Oklahoma and then he goes and beats Georgia or beats Alabama and has a game kind of like he just has one of those games, like Hendon Hooker had against Alabama. As soon as Hendon Hooker had that game, he was immediately number one with the shortest odds in the Heisman. So it's one of those where, I mean, obviously Dart could do the same thing with their schedule if he beats a team that shouldn't beat. Like when I think they get Georgia at home too, so it's one of those that can help either one of them out. So I don't hate either one. It's going to be a quarterback as much as we want to talk about Sinji or any of those guys. It's a quarterback award these days.
I agree.
Georgia's still the short shot to win the national championship, plus 320. Ohio State plus 340, Texas plus 500, Alabama plus 900, Oregon 12-1. Anything in this futures market that's worth looking at right now? I think Georgia's still being a little overvalued here. I don't think they should be the short shot. I think it should be Texas.
I agree with that, but I'm also not going to sit there and tell you don't put money on Georgia, because I think now Georgia's gotten to the point where there were some times where Bama was like, maybe this is their down year, and then they're in the national championship. Like, because of Saban, Kirby Smart's kind of on that trajectory as well. He knows how to coach. They had a down spot. Like, I would be concerned if it happens 2 or 3 times. One time, I'm not overly concerned because I know Kentucky was, they essentially blew their load on that game. That's what they were looking for all season long. So, yes, I believe Texas is probably the shortest shot in realistic terms, but Georgia's still going to be there. And again, like I always say in college baseball, a winning ticket's not, anything but value. So,
yeah, I think you look out of that list you gave. I know Oregon was 650 at the beginning of the year. If the Oregon we got this weekend is what we get for the rest of the season, that's worth it. I mean, they get Ohio State at home, so if they win the Big Ten, that's automatic bye. Plus, you're in the top 4. The line showed up for the first time. Like, obviously, their skill guys. Like Oregon State's not terrible, and they made them look so slow, like everywhere. Like, so their skill guys are there. As long as their front lines perform, that's back to being a top 3 or 4 team, like we thought before the season started.
I wonder what the look ahead line would be for Texas, Georgia right now. Texas would be favored, right, at home.
I gotta think by.
It'd be like 2. It'd be about the home field advantage if you say they play at home.
I was going to say
3.5, 4, I think.
Is this with, are we assuming Ewers is healthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, I would say in between that 3 and 4 range.
They'll keep him out too. They'll keep him out too, knowing they have Archman. Like, their schedule kind of they have Louisiana Monroe this weekend. They got somebody else.
It's pretty easy.
Somebody else down the week next week, and then they have a bye before the big game in 4 weeks. So there's no rushing Ewers back, especially with that abdominal strain. And you think as a quarterback, there's so much core involved in twisting and getting the ball off. I think they will take their time in getting him back.
Yeah, you got Monroe this week. They're at home against Mississippi State. And then, like Nick said, then they get a bye, then they get the Red River shootout against Oklahoma.
Alabama, Georgia, both off this weekend as they prepare for their Week 5 showdown in Tuscaloosa. I think I'm going to back Bama in that game. I'm hoping that they're plus points, but I think that could be a big win for DeBoer.
Total there.
Plus, I think Milroe, he's like the X factor. Just Georgia's not going to face a quarterback other than Ewers, but Milroe's a completely different skill set. I just don't think Georgia's going to face somebody like that, and especially with DeBoer using Milroe, using his legs. I'm higher on this Alabama team than I am Georgia at this point. I think they have better upside.
But I've been down on them more than you guys the whole season. I don't know. I just don't see it. They just seem like they're forcing so much. I'd like to know, before he got hurt, he was 5 for 5 on that first drive. Or Van Dyke, I should have said that. Yeah, Van Dyke was 5 for 5 on that first drive before he got hurt. So it would have been nice to see what that game was, because as soon as he went out, that quarterback could hit the broadside of the barn. And when you're playing an air raid offense against an Alabama team, that's just not going to work. So Alabama that turned out to be more like they were playing Purdue than it was they were playing Wisconsin.
ESPN Bet has Alabama plus 2.5 in that game.
Does it have a total?
51.5.
Ooh, I would lean under.
I like under.
Should be a good one. Well, we're definitely getting into the meat of the schedules now with conference games. And as you can see with the top matchup board, we're going to have a lot closer spreads. So hopefully that translates into some more competitive games where we can actually cash a ticket. But until Friday for the Week 4 preview show, I'm Matt Grissom, Todd Smith, Nick Hathcote, and Quentin Mills. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week, or the end of this week. There we go. We'll get there.